Hello,
Hello, is this Dan Q?
this is Dan Q. It sounds like this is Ed Lee I'm talking to.
Hey, it's not one of those advertisement. What is that? What do they call that? I don't know what that.
Like a T-Mobile commercial. Like, hey, man, we haven't talked in 20 years. How are you, man?
Hey, yeah, actually, it's been that long.
It has been that long. How are you, man? It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm doing fine and hanging in there. Work's a little more sporadic than you used to be, but how you doing? And how
You
you
know,
been?
Listen, I'm an old man. I'm on Social Security. I'm teaching at 3 schools. I got 60 students, and I'm digging it.
Wow, how are you managing three different schools at
Well,
the
I teach at Otis. I have 2 classes there, and I got 1 class there's a school in Laguna called LCAD, and I just I kind of I've been doing it long enough that I kind of figured out what I want my week to be. So I teach 3 days a week. I teach on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I have a day on Thursday to catch my breath. I get my weekends. I get the summer off. Digging it, man.
wow.
How are you doing? Ed, how long have you been in Korea?
Just consistently since 2009. So I've been here 10, 11 years.
Wow. And how are you doing? You're teaching, right?
I was teaching, but I am currently at a animation studio that specializes in 2D, like cell animation.
Okay.
So it's a little they combine it with 3D, so it's like a 2.5D, but it's really fun because I get to design like in 2D,
Good.
like drawing 2D instead of
Okay.
doing,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Okay. Man,
So
it's good to hear your voice. I talk to Steve Olds, and every once in a while I see Dave Carroll. I talk to Paul Wee, a few of our old crew, and man, the time flies when you're having fun, huh?
was it
I'm
fun?
old. I'm gonna be 70 years old next year, Ed.
Wow.
Yeah, see?
I didn't. I heard you were in your, yeah, in your 60s,
Yeah,
but
you heard I was old. You just didn't know I was that old.
God, God. Now it puts things in perspective. How long was the last time that we saw each other, and also how long we've been working and teaching. And,
Well, this is the thing. This blows my mind. You and I first met at Deke
yeah.
back in the day, and I don't think I knew you in the Sherman Oaks
No.
office,
No.
and but in the one when we were there across from Warner Brothers. I think that's when you know what I remember about meeting you
Yeah.
is because we were working on Cops,
Yeah.
and Steve Olds was working on that, and I kind of forget what else they were doing up there. We were up there on the 4th floor or something, but I always associate meeting you with the arrival of the first Guns N' Roses album. Yeah, because I think you and I just have this vague memory of you and I going, because I didn't know much about Guns N' Roses, and I knew they
Oh.
were coming. That was like '89. That was like '89, and that album came out, and it had the Robert Williams cover, and it had "Sweet Child of Mine" and "Welcome to the Jungle" and all that stuff. And I think you and I, because I think you mentioned to me like, oh yeah, I love this album, and I thought, well, this guy's okay.
Oh. Okay. Cool.
I think you liked it, right?
Oh, what was? Yeah, yeah,
The Guns N' Roses, the Appetite for Destruction.
yeah. Actually, I saw them. I think in spring of '88, and I came out to Deke maybe a little after summer in '88,
Mm-hmm.
and I just saw them at
Where did
uh,
you see them?
in New York City Palladium or something like that. And it was just before they hit big and their first album came out. It was like the
Mm-hmm.
last major show, and I was there with maybe three other guys from Pratt, my old school,
Oh,
and
no kidding.
and
Wow. That must have been exciting, man. To
yeah,
see a band right before they break?
yeah, and I don't know where I got the tape, cassette tape. Maybe it was a bootleg, and then I brought it with me to out to L.A. And then I don't know, for some reason I saw you at Deke, and you're a kind of blonde guy, and I thought, wow, this guy's a surfer. So yeah, so I was like striking up conversations with people around in that room, and you happened to be there with a Hawaiian shirt, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just talking, and I think, and then we talked about rock music and things, and I said, "Oh, I got this cool tape, and I'm sure you'll like it." Because I think you mentioned some bands, and I thought, well, he might like this tape. Listen to this tape. So I think I lent you that tape. I never got it back. I don't think.
No, I don't think you. I would have. Honestly, if you had lent me a tape, I would have definitely got it back to you.
Oh,
But I do know that we talked about them.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so
And see, that's how 30 year that's how 30 year friendships are formed.
yeah, yeah.
uh,
With the Guns, yeah, they were rocking. I'm like, man, this guy's gonna get big soon. So, and they were
well,
big.
they because I know I had friends that saw them in L.A. at the Troubadour and stuff before they broke, and they just said,
Oh,
and that's what's cool about a band that is on the way up, and they're going to be big, and right before they pull the cork out of the bottle,
yeah,
they're just on fire,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and such a great period. It's such a great period to be following in a band where the fury matches the anticipation, and they're worthy of all of your devotion.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They somehow hit that um, chord in people at that moment, and I guess that people were in need of it. In that at that time when you got a lot of the like those electronic bands from Britain and some from US.
Right,
Those
right.
those I don't know what
Well, there was certainly a lot of stuff like the Eurythmics
yeah,
and
yeah,
Culture Club and a lot of the synth bands, and I think Depeche Mode and those guys.
yeah,
But people just wanted a hard rock band, man.
yeah, yeah. They wanna
It's
go ahead.
oh no, I think people, that I've always, I like the rock and roll part of rock and roll, and I love all the other stuff that's happening. But when I heard Slash doing those solos on "Sweet Child of Mine" and all that stuff, if the guitar player's good, then I'm there.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, Slash. With that hat, that sort of took my
Yeah, I know. Well, and
imagination.
they were kind of like a car wreck that was just they were so dynamic because they were so kind of not that they were well as a band they were tighter than tight,
Yeah,
but as they were I've always wondered how they ever kept it together. They were just that kind of their energy and their interpersonal stuff. And of course Axel was he's a talk about an animated character, man.
oh
That
yeah,
guy
yeah.
was something else. But that's what makes that's the kind of energy that speaks to people. It's I was and here we are, down the line this far. And, music has changed, the world has changed, the art has changed, film has changed, all the stuff that we do, certainly a lot of the things are the same, but we're, I look at it as a really, I'm just glad I got to go along for the ride and be in the, up in the cheap seats watching it all happen.
Jeez. Cheap seats. Those vinyl ones.
Well, I don't,
yeah.
And I don't mean. I guess by that I mean. I don't mean the cheap seats. I mean. I got to do so many things that I never expected that I would get to do when I was 17 and 18 years old. I just feel grateful to have just been along on this kind of journey.
Yeah.
With, guys like you and Steve Olds and Richie and, Paul Wee and all the people that we knew at Deke and everybody that I knew at Rhythm and Hughes and all of these things. It's, when you started at Pratt, I got out of Art Center, I tell my students when, all I wanted to do when I went to Art Center, all I wanted to do was posters for rock and roll bands, posters, album covers, and I wanted to work for Rolling Stone magazine, and I didn't have any other idea about what was out there in the world to do. None. Zero. And, I came to Los Angeles, I went to Art Center, and that was, then you meet people that are sophisticated, that grew up in the city. This might have happened to you at Pratt. Did you grow up in New York, Ed?
Upstate New York. I just went to Pratt for the college years.
Okay. I mean, did you grow up in what size town did you grow up in?
Oh, it was like suburbia. Like you see in Steven Spielberg movie. Like E.T. That sort of suburbia, but maybe not as fluent. Just like middle income family, working, maybe blue collar. Yeah. I
grew up in Northern California in a town of 3,000 people.
Whoa!
And it was a logging town.
Yeah.
And in my town of 3,000 people, there was 13 lumber mills.
Whoa, that's a lot of lumber
13
mills.
Lumber mills and logging trucks going, 24/7, 365 days a year, 2 trains a day. Everybody that I knew and my parents knew were all truck drivers or loggers, and it was kind of a, this is like 1955.
Yeah.
And this is, it was kind of a boom town because lumber and that's what happened in this town. And, so when I came to Art Center, I was like, I was Mr. Country Boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I mean, I knew what I liked, but I didn't know anything. And then you come to Art Center and, people are talking about, I like Disney and things like that, but I didn't understand anything about animation or how did they do those amazing gouache paintings that were in the background of Pinocchio. I could literally sit here right now and count out like 3 or 4 paintings in Pinocchio that haven't been indelibly etched on my brain.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do you do that with gouache? Who does that? And then you go to Art Center, and then some of your teachers are the people that do that stuff, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
How does that happen? So anyhow, that's when I say that I got to sit in the cheap seats. I guess what I mean is I got to go on this ride of sort of curiosity, and along the way, of course, we have our own enthusiasms that we bring to the game, and then we meet all these other people who have similar enthusiasms. and pretty soon you realize that there's a whole world of people out there that can speak the language that you and I can speak, and they can speak the visual language. They can do the visual language, but they can also speak about it. And that's kind of one of the most, and that's something that I never even realized existed when I was young. Hey, did you? I sent you a Frazetta thing today. Did you see that?
Yeah, but somehow the Gmail thought it was like some sort of spam.
Junk or something, or
yeah.
Or,
so it says it recommended I don't reply to it. I don't know. Did you?
Well, what it was is that there's a new Frazetta book out, and it's funny that you and I would be talking today because, when it's a little 10-minute film about a new book that they've just published. And of course, there's everything that you and I have seen about Frank Frazetta, but it got me thinking about how, when I came to Art Center, I lived down near Wilshire and La Brea.
Oh yeah, that's
and one day there was a
good area.
There used to be a really cool bookstore right around the corner from the Wiltern, and that's actually Western and Wilshire. And I went in there one day, and I don't know, my first or second semester, and I was going through the paperbacks, and that's where I saw my first Frazetta paperback cover.
What year was it?
And it was a 70. I'm going to say 71, maybe 72.
That's classic.
And I was aware of Frazetta because I had seen, I knew some of his stuff from, EC Comics and a couple things. And but I saw that it's the one of the giant mastodon crushing through the trees. I think it's a Conan book, and there's kind of a barbarian with a spear, and he's sort of cowering in front of this mastodon. And I had never seen anything like it.
Wow.
And then I started looking through it. I bought 3 paperbacks that day because there wasn't even books on Frazetta yet.
yeah, 71, yeah.
And then that era, because I think I might be 10 years older than you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I was born in 51, but and so and it blew my mind. Because it was, the subject matter was so amazing, and the painting was so stunning. I literally couldn't believe it. And as I was thinking about this, you sent me out that list about things to talk about.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that period, that mid 70s period where.
Oh, that's good period.
Oh man, where and. When heavy metal, when Metal Hurlant, as it's known in France, but when Heavy Metal magazine, came to America, that was a game changer, man. That was like Guns N' Roses. It was like the
Guns N' Roses.
It's kind of like the Beatles. Would pick your metaphor, man. It was like because Mobius and Drouillet and Corbin and all those guys, and then off to the side were guys like Bernie Wrightson, and then of course Sid Mead emerged around the same time, and John Berkey, and Ralph McQuarrie, of course, and Frazetta, and all this, and so I just thought, man, this is like these guys are like rock and roll bands.
Mid 70s, yeah.
And it must have been like that for you back east too.
Yeah, East Coast, yeah, definitely. I think it was 75. That's when the Fantastic Art of Frank Frazetta came out. Around that time, or maybe it was 76. I think it was 75. The first edition, yeah. And I even met the guy in 1995 when I went out there and met the man himself at his house.
Oh man! Oh, see, I've been to his house in the gallery, but you got to meet him?
Yeah, didn't you? Did I tell that story?
I'm thinking I'm sure you have, but tell me how that went down.
Yeah, I was. You remember when Pauline was doing like different projects? And she was head of development at Rhythm and Hughes,
Mm-hmm.
and so I picked the Frank Rosetta as the main theme, and through that, I was able to go out there. I don't know how I got the number, their phone number, their home number, but I called them up just, and I was talking to Ellie Frazetta, and she finally said, before I put Frank on, I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna make me talk to Frank. So I finally talked to her, and I was like, just floored. I'm like, this guy is, my hero and hero to many others, and then we set up a time, and I finally went out there, New York, and a friend of mine, New York, drove me down to Pennsylvania, and they gave me the address. So we got out there. He dropped me off, and I went to the house. I was just talking to her first, and then Frank came out, and him and I, we were talking mostly at his studio. I could smell of oil painting, because that's what he would use.
Man.
Yeah, but he's he's easel and desk were like so. They weren't slick at all. They were like just old school, and it was falling apart. I'm like, this guy draws on this really, crappy desktop. I don't think that really mattered to him. What mattered to him was his imagination, his vision, not what because he would use coffee cans for, to wash out the brush, and he, yeah,
love that.
Yeah, and then I. Then he had to go away for briefly, and I was looking at what brand or oil paint he would use, and he would just use everything. It was all some were really, I know the brands, and some were really really cheap, and from Rembrandt brand to he didn't have any Winsor Newtons, I don't think, because that would be too expensive or too much of a vanity kind of thing. But he would use anything. But he was working on one painting, and he later published it. I'm like, that's the painting I saw him working on. It was like half done. He kind of started it, and I saw that, and we were just chatting it up. And we even when the friend came to pick me up, he went through the cabinet, and we took out handguns, and we shot. And the
Really?
Yeah, the studio, there was like a sliding door or something, and we went out to the patio, and he went out there and started shooting at the logs, the backyard. It was a huge land, yeah. And
and did you get to shoot too?
Yeah, I picked up like a revolver, and then my friend picked up too. So three of us were shooting at the log, and I had a Python. Revolver, and
right.
yeah, and then it was like first time I ever shot a gun, and it was so loud my ears rang. So
wow.
I kind of half cowered, and Frazetta Frank was like, he was so worried, like, you're all right, and then so whole days spent with the man himself. Yeah.
Oh man, that's like who's the rock and roll guy that loves Frazetta?
The guitarist from Metallica. I forgot his name.
Well, he does that. That's Kurt Hammett.
Yeah.
But who's the Misfits guy? He's shoot, I can't think of his name. He used to be the lead singer for the Misfits. And now his band just has his name. He's a huge Frazetta fan.
Oh, yeah.
Mother, that's the song. His song is Mother. I'll think of it. Anyhow, that you gotta write that story down, man. I met fans. That's like meeting Hunter Thompson. Hunter Thompson, who wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. You got to his house. And and he would, if you wanted to talk to Hunter Thompson, he'd make you mow his lawn first before he'd give you an interview. So
You got to work for
oh
it.
God, what a great story! I shot guns with Frank Frazetta.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
what a great story! Oh man. And then, of course, he's got. Well, I'm guessing the museum wasn't built then, or was it?
It was built beforehand, and I went there like uh, maybe 3 times with a college friend.
Uh huh.
1995, when I went out to East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, to meet him at his house. So he already had the museum in East Stroudsburg, and
Okay.
during our talk, this little girl came in. She was like 6 or 7 years old, and her name is Sarah. And I don't think she kind of remembers me, but that was a long time ago. And she, after he passed away, she kind of basically took over the business. Because
Okay.
Ellie, yeah, she passed away too. So, and Sarah is their granddaughter. She's taking care of his estate, his paintings. He's and merchant. Like, she's taking care of the merchandising, the T-shirt, and all that kind of thing. But she was really a dynamo. I could see that there was some likeness. I could see that the blue eyes. In her.
Uh huh.
Because Frank had, I think, a blue eyes or gray eyes, and she has very similar eyes. And
Hmm.
she was very astute at that age, and she basically took over all the business part. Yep.
Well, those, when we were talking earlier, it's that that moment in time, and certainly that was right after I got out of Art Center, and you're a couple years behind. But
Yeah.
when that stuff hit, when Frazetta hit,
Mm-hmm.
and Mobius, I mean Frazetta and Mobius and Sid Mead, kind of all emerged at the same time. It was this. Man, what a moment. What a moment to be where we were in those times, for those guys to be the people that were sort of defining what, the universe of design for film and
Yeah.
fantasy and graphic novels and all of that stuff. And then that period in 75, 77, 79 sort of launched certainly in my head. And this is my own kind of little calendar, but
Yeah.
I always think of those guys as the emergence as like the second wave of design for film and animation and comics and all of that, because their emergence and heavy metal's emergence sort of coincided with Star Wars, Jaws, Blade Runner, Alien, Geiger, all of that stuff. And it kind of all happened at once, and it just seemed like, man, this is the world of visual development for films and ideas and comics and everything. It just seemed like it all came in this giant package.
Yeah.
It was just full of these guys. I'm still, I still feel like I'm a fan.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
I look at, and then when I see my students' work, or they'll show me artists that I've never heard of, because I just don't have time to. I don't have time to go to chase it all down anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so my students will show me people, and it's mind-boggling.
Okay.
I'm just blown away by what's on ArtStation and certainly in graphic novels and storytelling and film and animation and all this. And I guess the only thing I can say about it is it's a really fun time to be an instructor.
Oh, awesome! That's great to hear. That
because I love these young people, man. Like I tell them, I literally go my first one of week 1 or 2, they get a little antsy, and I go, you know what? I go, let's just take a minute here. I'm not your grandpa. I'm not your grandpa, okay? Yeah, you hear what I say. I'm not your grandpa. I got 2 lifetimes on everybody in this class.
Yeah.
But I was 18 years old at one time in my life.
Mm.
And I know what it's like to be 18, and I know what it's like to have the energy to just, I mean, there were times back in the 70s where we'd go see 3 rock and roll concerts in a week.
Yeah.
Go to the Santa Monica Civic and see David Bowie on Monday, see the Clash on Thursday. The following Wednesday, we'd see Bob Marley.
Wow.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And I still, I still get chills just thinking about it, because the curiosity that you have as a visual artist. I think it's just like being a musician, and that's and from my from where I sit right now, being almost 70 years old, I'm jazzed, man.
I could tell just by when you said you were going to be turning 70 next year. I'm like, damn, he's not. I never thought you were that old. Or older than me. I never think about those kind of things, because I see it in spirits, like the person's inside, and you're after all these years, you're still feisty guy, because you're bitingly feisty.
Well, but Ed, this is our duty. This is our duty, and I'll tell you a part of it where, it's in 2015 I finished my book, Joyride Flat Out, Hot Rods and Dream Machines, and what happened to me was when I was working at Rhythm and Hughes, and I ended up being at Rhythm and Hughes for 16 years.
Wow.
And that was and that was kind of a dream job, that was really, it was an unusual company. It was a fulfillment of some things that I had always pursued, but without knowing that I was pursuing them.